What's going on, guys? This is John Zakari, and today I want to talk about the recent unveiling of the PlayStation Neo, which is now officially called the PlayStation Pro. This has been a controversial one. So first, let's talk about the look of the new system. Essentially, they've added another layer to the box in a sort of stacking effect. And it didn't take people long to start photoshopping more on top of that for a potential future version. The appearance has received mostly negativity, but personally, I could care less about what the console itself looks like. I've never cared at all about that, as to me, these are media players, not display pieces. To me, the big problem with this new console, though, there is no 4K Blu-ray support coming with this upgrade. In my opinion, this is the major disappointment here, as if you've seen the price of current standalone 4K players, you know you'd be getting a hell of a value here if one was included. It's even more surprising that it's Sony that's the one who's opting out, as Sony has long been a huge supporter of new formats, with the DVD player in the PS2 and the Blu-ray player in the PS3. For many, this is how we were introduced to these formats, through Sony. I just would never have guessed that if someone was going to pass on supporting the next media format, that it'd be them. Still, the system will support 4K playback in apps like Netflix. So if you're someone who does most of your video viewing through streaming services, this one might not be as big of a blow to you. Let's move on to the mass appeal of this new hardware, and that's the upgraded visuals in gaming experiences. People have been going back and forth all over the internet on the quality bump we're getting here, and I'll say flat out, in my opinion, I think it's okay. I'm not blown away by what you're getting, but at the same time, I don't feel like people are getting ripped off either. I see tons of people complaining that the gaming isn't in true 4K, and to that I've got to say, what the hell were you expecting? Obviously, as a piece of console hardware, the thing had to be modestly priced. For those who don't know, it will cost about $400. With that said, please, I beg anyone in this complainer category to go look at PC builds and see how far $400 gets you. If you think you're going to get anywhere near true 4K gaming, you're nuts. That's just straight up not enough zeros. Also, and I don't want to sound like a fanboy defender, but that's typically what happens when you don't slam the thing everybody else is slamming, but you have to also realize that we're watching this gameplay on compressed streaming YouTube videos, even when they are in 4K and you're probably not watching it on a 4K display. If I do have a complaint about the visual bump, it's what you get, or at least the not clear idea of what you get on a standard 1080p television. There was mention that these supported games will also have improvements that are seen in standard HD TVs, but I was hoping that they'd confirm 60 frames per second across the board in standard HD, as 60 FPS console gaming is what I originally hoped to get out of this generation. Now sure, the gameplay also wasn't as buttery smooth as I would hoped it would be, but I'm sure, as with anything gaming related, we're probably not going to see the potential of this thing reached on day one. Honestly, I've long since given up on anything playing right on day one out of the box, regardless of platform or hardware. Now, of course, we have to also compare this to Microsoft's Xbox Scorpio, which Microsoft has done a good job of reminding everyone of how much more powerful it will be since the PS4 Pro was revealed. And that box will also have the 4K Blu-ray support. If this console generation has taught me anything, people care about the power in these boxes. I mean, Jesus Christ, how many articles did I have to read in the early days with someone saying, hey, X game is 900p on Xbox One and 1080p on PS4. Just kill me. But the edge of the PS4 Pro is in its release date, having about an entire year on the Scorpio. And honestly, I think that's the major question in terms of whether or not you should buy these systems. Well, number one is and always should be the games themselves. Plus, your current library should also play into the decision, as with this forward compatibility idea, you may already have a bunch of games that will benefit from this performance increase. But I'd also say how eager you are to get a new system is a factor here. If you're just jonesing for something new right now, I do think the PS4 is fine. Again, I'm not blown away by the value, but I'm not cutting it down either. Which likely means people on both sides will be hating on me, but whatever. But if you're not in a rush, it's looking like the Xbox Scorpio will end up being the better value down the road. But on top of that, we don't know what the PS4 and the Pro's prices will be a year from now. I mean, the PS4s especially could get slashed down again before the release of the Scorpio, and we don't know how much the Scorpio is going to cost, so in terms of the value, we really can't compare these two consoles yet. In addition, I see a lot of people factoring in the price of a 4K TV into the costs of these gaming experiences, but I feel like you shouldn't be surprised at all by the cost, as these TVs have been out for a long time, and if this is something you've been planning on, you've been paying attention to the cost of these TVs. And if your only plans for a 4K TV is to play these new consoles on it, then yeah, I definitely recommend holding off. In the end, as far as the bump in game quality we're getting with the PS4 Pro, I'm simply not surprised. I feel like the people who are raging out about this hype themselves up way too much, and I guess we're assuming that Sony was going to deliver to them thousands of dollars in hardware at a $400 price tag. I don't get it. However, I think the absence of 4K Blu-ray support is a huge misstep here. I believe if Sony really wanted to move these systems, they needed to have that included, especially since they're also in the TV market, so bringing on that 4K Blu-ray support could have really just tied this all together so perfectly. I really don't understand why they didn't do it. And finally, as I try to do often in my videos, let me put the Nintendo spin on this. And that's, this reveal actually made me much more hopeful for Nintendo's next console if they do plan to do the whole handheld hybrid idea. As I think bringing a likely less powerful standard console compared to the PS4 Pro at a release date later than the Pro would be the death sentence for the next system. Bringing an alternative style of play is probably the best bet for them given the current state of the industry. And with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on the PS4 Pro, the Xbox Scorpio, and hell, even the NX competition in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to my channel now, and you can say you were a subscriber before it was cool. As always, I'm John Zakari, and thanks for watching.